the game.
Hey there, I'm Kel Siddiqui. What started as helping people with their money at my dining room table grew into a 7-figure financial coaching practice. Now I teach others how to build a thriving coaching business of their own. Whether you're just starting out or you've been coaching for years, I'm here to help you make a bigger impact while doing what you love. This is the Financial Coach Academy podcast. Let's dive in. Hey coaches, I am so excited for this episode of our Success Stories series with financial coach Amber Joy Pietrangelo. I'm so excited that I nailed that. Amber is a money coach and bookkeeper who lives in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan with her husband and 2 miracle babies. She found the world of financial coaching in 2019 after struggling through multiple miscarriages when she started seeking more purpose in her life. Since then, her life and business have transformed many times, leading her to currently working as a CFO for a local nonprofit and supporting women with service-based businesses and nonprofits through her coaching and bookkeeping. Her work is all about supporting women to pursue their callings to be wealthy and impactful. Her absolute favorite work is creating clarity around numbers and then tapping into intuition to guide decision-making. Thank you so much for joining me today, Amber, a fellow Michigander. How much snow do you have up there in the UP?
Way too much. We actually are thinking we might hit the record this year. Like, it's insane right now, the snowbanks. You wouldn't believe it.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you. I really want to start with focusing on your business model. You have 2 services, bookkeeping and coaching. The first thing I want to know is just a really quick question is, like, does a client need to do both coaching and bookkeeping with you, or can they do just bookkeeping or just coaching?
Yes and no. I really feel like when you get me as a bookkeeper, like, you can't just get me to do your books, you get a coach along with that. Cool. So like, I'm a coach 100% of the time, I feel like, except maybe when like I'm just behind my computer screen, doing the books. So it's kind of hard to, like, for me, it's hard to separate like the bookkeeper from the coach. But definitely, I coach people without doing their books necessarily.
Got it. Okay. And then what is the split percentage-wise between your businesses? Is it like 50-50? Is it mostly bookkeeping? Is it mostly coaching? Do you keep track of that? And if you don't know, that's okay too.
I don't keep really close track of it. I would say, like, at the moment, it's probably majority bookkeeping, like maybe like 60-40.
Got it. Okay.
And it kind of ebbs and flows.
Sure.
My bookkeeping clients are recurring, repeat, like once they're with me, they stay with me ongoing. Coaching clients may be just a single session or just a few month program, or so that kind of ebbs and flows more than the bookkeeping.
How have you found it best? This is probably the question I get most often from coaches who have sort of 2 services. So whether it's credit repair and coaching, or bookkeeping and coaching, or tax prep and coaching, how have you found it best to market these services? Do you market them both simultaneously? Do you start with one and then it leads naturally into the other? So you sort of put that one on a pedestal, or just talk to me a little bit about the positioning of these 2 services in your marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like my services kind of have a natural flow depending on where somebody's at in their business journey.
Okay.
So like, if they want to start a business, they don't have it yet, or they're just getting going and they're like, I don't even know what I'm doing with my own money, then that's where, it's probably just going to be coaching. And then as their business grows and they realize, okay, I need some help with my books. I do actually do some, I call it QuickBooks consulting. So like, I'll sit side by side and help someone do their own books if they're not like at the point of being able to invest in an ongoing bookkeeper. And then, it can transition into where they hit the point of like, okay, I want to focus on what I'm good at, and then let somebody else take care of.
I want to delegate it or outsource it now, right? So I'll do it myself for a little bit, just give me the basic pointers, and then eventually I want to outsource it back to you. That's awesome. So they have that option. They trust you. They're doing it right because you're the one that trained them on how to do it right and that sort of thing. So that's a really great segue. Did you ever feel torn between these 2 services? Did you feel pressured to choose just one, or did you ever feel conflicted? Maybe from an identity perspective, you sort of spoke to this a little bit, that you feel like you're 100% a coach. Did you ever feel as if because of that identity, like you couldn't offer bookkeeping, or you shouldn't for some reason? Was it just natural for you to do both?
There definitely was a struggle there, but it wasn't with the bookkeeper identity. It was with the coach identity.
Oh, interesting.
So like, I started my business back in 2019 when I did FCA, and it has gone through all sorts of different stages and phases. And I've had 2 babies since then, and like my life has changed in so many ways. And like during COVID, after I had my daughter, I hit a point, things were not great at my day job. We had a lot of extra money influx from all of the stimulus payments. Like I was like, okay, I'm ready to just give the business thing a go, jump into it full time. And it didn't work out. Like I was not bringing in enough money. And I hit the point where I was like, okay, like I have to get a job. And I really dreaded that. I love coaching people. I loved being a coach. That's when I got the job I'm currently in as the CFO. Is I'm really good at like, I'm going to get all the numbers straight for you. And then I'm going to help you understand what they mean.
Yeah.
It's not just spitting out reports. And so, yeah, like when I started my day job and I realized that, it was like, okay, like the bookkeeping, like I really want to offer this. And my husband was even like, you should just be a bookkeeper. Like to him, he saw my coaching. It was like, well, it didn't work out. But for me, like, I really feel like you can't get me without getting coaching. Like anybody that I work with on the bookkeeping, like, it's not just, okay, here's your reports. See you later. Like it's, here's your reports. And this is what I'm seeing. And is this what you're experiencing? And what does this mean for you? What decisions can we make with this information that we have now?
You know what it sounds like to me, Amber, is, I do the same thing as you as far as like interpreting the numbers and like painting that picture of like, here's why this is relevant or here's what this is showing you. The tool that I use is like a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet of some sort, like combing through their cash flow. Mm-hmm. The tool you use is QuickBooks. Like your tool is the bookkeeping and the QuickBooks, but then you definitely are bringing the coaching element to it, right? So it's just the tool that you're using in order to gather the information, calculate all the numbers, like sort of like get it all put together. Is QuickBooks, where mine is sort of Excel, or like some other coaches might use something different, but it's a lot of the same. It's the same process. It's just a different tool that you're using, right?
Absolutely.
It's actually this shift that you sort of spoke about that you've experienced over the years that I really want to highlight in this episode, because I know from our early FCA days together, which again was a while back, that your business has shifted since you first launched it. Not only your niche, right? Because your niche was totally different when I met you through FCA, but I really do this embrace of your own style. Like I saw it sort of happen in your messaging. We're friends on social media. And so in your posts and just seeing you like come into your own was really awesome to watch. And I'm curious just how and why that shift occurred. And I know you sort of spoke to it, that maybe it was this job that helped you sort of like all the through line of everything sort of came together, maybe where it was like, oh, this is where, what I'm good at sort of thing. But was there anything else that you can speak to as sort of how that shift played out?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I've been reflecting on a little bit, like knowing this interview was coming up, is back when I decided to jump into my business full time, I had actually signed on with my own coach that was like a life business coach, and, was in their program and working through their things. And I'm actually working with the same coaches again now, with kind of like reconfiguring my offerings and putting it together this way. I'm working with them again now, and I can see how much I have changed and how much I've sort of surrendered or kind of allowed things to be what they are.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like when I first started FCA, it was like, I was looking for something to give myself purpose, but I was also kind of in that mindset of like, this is what my business needs to be. Honestly, I feel like I made that mistake of idolizing your system and the way that you did things. And I was like, I'm just going to do it exactly like Kelsa did, because she did it and it works, and that must be right, right? And there are still some key things from what I learned in FCA that I still use. And while QuickBooks is my tool, I do still love the plan ahead method. And I actually kind of teach a fun sort of blend of like plan ahead and profit first.
Oh, cool.
I really like to do. And that's what I do that's kind of what I do for myself now, teaching others. Like in the beginning, I was like, this is what makes sense. Like I was very logical about like, this is how my business has to be. And there's a right way to do it. I'm going to do it the right way. And then I started to learn how to like actually pay attention to how I felt and what my gut was telling me. And, talk about that identity. I knew that I wanted stability in my business. And I'm not a big marketer. We kind of touched on the marketing a little bit. Like I don't really do traditional marketing. I mean, there's a whole other rabbit hole of like human design, but I'm a projector.
Yeah.
And so like waiting for an invitation is very natural to me. And that just works a lot better for me than trying to like push it and put myself out there. And then just connection, like one-on-one connection with people. So the whole referral partners is a huge part of how I market. But I decided to try DMM because you had it in FCA and it sounded like, oh, like this is a piece where like I can get that stability of like a recurring client that I know, I'm going to have for the long term. And I tried it, didn't love it, but there was always kind of that want of like, I want some stability. And then like bookkeeping has just kind of been this beautiful coming together of what I really do like to do, what I'm really good at, and, what I want my business to be in my life.
Had you done bookkeeping before FCA or no? Bookkeeping was like a whole new thing to you when you eventually tried it.
No. So, I mean, I have a bachelor's in accounting. So bookkeeping wasn't a strange thing to me. Like I have all of that accounting background. I've worked in banking, so I like knew like in theory what bookkeeping was, but I never actually did it hands-on until I started this day job and actually started doing the books like beginning to finish. And realized how much I like that. Like it's a great big puzzle you get to put together.
Yeah. I think you were remind me, Amber, but you were like the very first or maybe second round of FCA total, wasn't it? Like it was brand new at the time, right? This was when we were doing it live.
Oh gosh. Yes. Well, and I actually went through it twice. When I first signed on, I did the self-paced because, it was more affordable and I was like kind of dipping my toes into that whole, up until that point, if you had asked me, I would have told you absolutely not. I'm never going to have my own business. Like business policy class and business law completely turned me off.
Yeah. Accounting totally turned me off. Accounting classes totally turned me off. And then I eventually came to love it. But so it's like the real world application of this stuff is not always like the academic version of it, So
self-paced. And then like after doing the self-paced, I realized I was really missing that accountability piece of like somebody actually making sure you're like doing something with it. So that's when I signed on to do the live cohort. And the live cohort, I did that when I was on maternity leave.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The timing just kind of worked out to do it. It's just crazy the number of things that I have done with small children.
In tow, right?
The way everything has happened in the last 5-6 years is nuts.
That's so awesome for them, though, I think. Just the other day, my daughter was telling me what she wants to do when she's older. And she was like listing a number of things. Like she wants to be a tutor and she wants to be a therapist. And I said, well, what kind of therapist? Thinking like, because Michael, used to be a physical therapist and that kind of thing. So I thought maybe something like that. And she goes, I want to help people better understand their emotions. That's what she said. Mind you, my daughter is 9. And then she said, or I want to be a financial coach like you. And she goes, really, I just want to help people. That's what she said. And I was like, I mean, this is, I think just from like hearing us talk about our work and our business and why we do what we do and all that kind of stuff. So I think your kids are learning so many valuable things from like being in tow with you as you're like navigating this journey of growth and also business growth and personal growth and all sorts of things. And I just think about like, we've made so many changes since that initial round of FCA. That's been 7 years ago now. And it was just hearing, one of the reasons I did it live for the first couple of years was because I wanted the real-time questions from coaches and I wanted to know like where their struggles were and exactly where were they slowing down and hesitating, but also what was easy for them to grasp and that sort of thing. And one of the things we saw really early on, and it's one of the reasons I speak about it on this podcast all the time, is this mindset of like, there's a right way to do things, whether it's in business or with money, that there's a right way that everybody has to make financial decisions, right? That this was something that we saw as a common pattern amongst the financial professional sort of industry, that all of us are sort of like wired that way initially. And it's like through experience, we learn that it's not like that. You know what I mean? And so I think it's like some of the journey that you sort of went through, whether it's clunky or rocky and we wish it was a lot smoother and easy and that sort of thing, it is sort of part of it. But one of the things that we very quickly added to FCA, and I want to say it was like in the second year, was, not only we really start now with a framework and we say, here's how like the best practices for doing this is, and then here's how we've applied that framework to our business, where I think early on we sort of had those reversed. We would say, here's how we do it, and then here's the framework, but it was almost like coaches who were so new would get clouded by our approach. Does that make sense? And so we would ask, we would encourage coaches to like do it your own way and like find what's going to work best for you. But now we actually give a whole bunch of examples of like, here's different ways you could apply this framework, and here's different things you can sort of ask yourself about your personality or about your style of, like you were saying, like going out there and sort of like finding people doesn't work for you, but creating the opportunities for people they can reach out to you works better for you. I think that is beautiful. Those are those little things that like you learn so much about yourself. And then Amber, you were like learning a lot about yourself because your life was changing, becoming a mom, all sorts of things, which just changes us a lot too, all at the same time. So it's like those 5 years for you were just so massive in growth and that kind of thing. And I'm curious, so during that time, like I said, I saw your messaging sort of shifting and that sort of thing, and you really finding your voice and all that. Were you nervous about what people might think? Or did you have any thoughts or feelings about what it might look like if people saw you doing these pivots where it's like, okay, now I'm offering DMM and now I'm offering bookkeeping? Was it a worry of yours that you sort of had to overcome and like coach yourself through it? Or was it something that you just didn't concern yourself with because you were like, listen, this is what I want to do. I don't really care what people think.
No, absolutely. I still get nervous about like doing a live online or, I think part of it is, when you're just talking to the world at large, you're not always talking to people who get it. Whereas if I'm talking to somebody that was referred to me or reached out to me directly, like I know that they're my people and they've picked up on my vibe and, that it's going to be a good conversation. There's always kind of that fear, I think, of like getting out there and putting yourself out there. And there's going to be people who just don't get it. That has never changed. And, talking about pivoting, I also had like started out with a business name, right? Like that was another, I need to have a business name.
Yeah.
And I have since shifted into like, I just show up as me. I'm Amber Pietrangelo, LLC. Like you get me, it doesn't have to have a name on it to be professional or be, whatever we think it needs to be. Like, I know that that's something a lot of people get hung up on is like having a business name.
I totally agree with you. I think part of that just comes from feeling connected to the business, like personally connected to it. Like our identity starts to become more deeply connected to it. And that's where it's easier to be like, my business is just me sort of thing. But at first it feels a little more removed. And so we think we need to have this big, like more professional, I'm going to say more professional, even though I don't think it's any more professional necessarily, but I do think it's like this, it's like an entity outside of us that we feel we need to sort of represent. And then eventually we just get to the point where it's like, it's just an extension of me. So I might as well just call it me, you know what I mean? So I think that's great. I'm curious if you were ever, because this is something coaches have shared with me, is that they're nervous about what I might think if they know that if I see their posts or something like that. Did that ever come up for you or no?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've ever been nervous about what you think because I feel like I just know that you'll always be proud of me for just showing up.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. I think that's very true.
Like it's always, I feel like, especially in the live FCA, it was so emphasized just like the messy action, like just do it and put it out there and you'll get better as you go. And, so you don't make me nervous. It's other people who don't get it.
Yeah. I think that's, I can say till I'm blue in the face, like this journey will take you in a direction you don't always know at first. And so it's okay if you change your niche or it's okay. But sometimes I'll get messages from coaches like on, DM or something. They'll be like, okay, so I'm kind of doing this thing. I just want to let you know, like, it's almost like they want to explain it to me or like want to get my permission almost. And you're right. To me, that is just part of the journey, right? And so my thing is like, I'm so glad you found this next step, right? Because everything that we do like leads to that. I think about all the steps that I took that were in the wrong direction, but I don't begrudge any of them because they all got me to the right answer. Sometimes that's how we learn and figure things out is through that messy action and figuring things out. So I'm glad to hear that you sort of worked through that a little bit. I know, I'm curious because again, you were an FCA a very long time ago, which one of the things people don't always realize is that it's something that you get access to forever. So like we have now made so many iterations to it that you then get access to, right? So like all of the new stuff that came out when we combined it with the toolkits, like the 4 toolkits, not all of them, but the 4, like you got all of those. And I'm just curious if there were any specific aspects of FCA that were most helpful to you, like initially in your journey. Maybe it was like that messy action. So when you first started, and then also like now, are there any that you're still using or still tapping into or something that you still find yourself going back to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when I started FCA, like I said, I never even thought I would have a business. And so the fact that it just takes you from square one, like literally you have nothing else, you have no business experience, you've never done anything like this. Like it literally takes you from square one and gives you all of those basic core pieces that you need to one, just to have a business, not necessarily be a financial coach, but just to be a business owner.
Right.
So in the beginning, like that was huge because anything unknown is scary, right? Like, and especially something like a business that has like, tax implications, that's even scarier. So like just to get like those core pieces in the beginning was so super helpful. And I do really like to revisit FCA and go back and watch videos. And I feel like no matter what section I go to, whether I'm looking for like a specific exercise or just something in general, like I always feel like I come away from your videos or your content feeling like educated and energized. So whether I just need like a pep talk, I'm just going in to be like, okay, I just need, a pep talk or maybe need a specific exercise. It's great to have that to go back to and have all of those pieces is just huge. So
I'm so glad. Okay, let's see. What were some of the initial challenges you faced that FCA helped you to identify and overcome or avoid, not necessarily from a business perspective, but maybe from just like a coaching perspective? Was there anything specifically in FCA that helped you maybe embrace that identity of a coach? Not necessarily as an entrepreneur, but as a coach or somebody who's going to be meeting with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, being a coach, and especially like when I did FCA, it was pre-pandemic, but especially like getting into the world of COVID when all of a sudden there's a coach on every Facebook page that you pop up on, right?
Seriously.
Like everybody showed up,
yes,
like in force as a coach. I think what I really appreciate about FCA was, I didn't have any background as a coach. I definitely had interest in, I took classes around like psychology, sociology. Like I was always very interested in how people thought and behaved and, how that played into things. And what I really loved is how like you really show people that like you don't have to have, like some kind of a certification or, you can really just start where you're at, being somebody that has the experiences that you have and use that to help other people, but that you work on that and that you work on that mindset of a coach and you work on becoming better at guiding people to what's right for them. And I will say, like having my own coach plays a huge part, I feel like, in me being successful. I would not be where I'm at in my business without FCA, but also without having like a coach that I am regularly meeting with myself.
Absolutely. I do think you're sort of speaking to the idea, like, just to bring this full circle a little bit of when we first start and we have that right versus wrong, or there's one right way sort of mentality. Another way that it shows up is that like I'm either all ready and completely experienced and have all of the knowledge and all of the skills I need ever in the world, or I don't, and I shouldn't be doing this. And I do think one of the things that we do try to embrace is just a growth mindset of like, here's what you know, here's the skills you have, here's the things you can grow in. Just like your clients are going to be growing, you're going to be growing with them in certain ways as long as you're staying ahead of them, right? Like that is really valuable because it is, I still learn all of the time today, right? And it's like being a student of our craft is sort of the motto of the Academy for sure. So I'm glad to hear that that is something you're still embracing. This is one of the questions I always love asking is, beyond the financial metrics, because as financial people, we tend to really like things like revenue and profit and amount in our savings and that kind of thing. But beyond those, what aspects of your coaching bring you the most fulfillment, or what do you consider sort of an element of success for you in your coaching business?
Yeah, I definitely feel like when it comes to success and everything, I've very much leaned away from numbers. It is very easy to fall into numbers. And like I kind of mentioned before, that I've really leaned into sort of like allowing things to be what they are in my life. And so for me, how I feel almost trumps everything else. And I definitely get a lot of like, oh my God, like you have a full-time day job, you have a business, you have 2 kids, you have like, how do you do all of that? And if I didn't feel good in it, I wouldn't be able to do it.
It's awesome.
But because it helps me feel good and I feel like I'm giving back.
I love that.
I actually, I shared this thought on my Facebook the other day about how, like, when you work with me, like, okay, you get a bookkeeper, you get a money coach, but you also just get somebody who just earnestly wants to help you. And so, like, if you want to know what kind of shampoo I use, or like,
what kind of shampoo do you use?
Tea tree oil. That's a trick for me.
That's it. Okay.
But like, I just love helping people. And, I have a lot of knowledge in the realm of numbers and money, and that's usually where it starts, but that's not where it ends. And that's what fills me up, is being able to give back to people in whatever way I can.
I love that. And I think if we put that first in business, like, it makes everything else so much easier to navigate, right? Like, the decisions become easier. And if I can't help somebody, I'll be the first to tell you that I can't help you. You know what I mean? And then that means I'm truly working with people that I can help, and they know that. And so then they go and tell other people about it, and it just forms trust. And I think, speaking to your story about COVID happened, then all of a sudden it was like the entire universe was online as a coach. I think that was probably one of the biggest differences during that time was the coaches who actually had a desire to help people, and those who just were looking to get rich quick, or, looking to sort of be an influencer and that kind of thing. So I'm so glad that you've continued to stick with it. I'm curious what piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out in financial coaching. So think back to Amber in 2019, because I think you're so similar to so many coaches, who are just starting out. A lot of the fears, not knowing, how to start a business or where to even begin and that sort of thing. What advice would you have for somebody who is just starting out in financial coaching?
So I feel like there's 2 pieces to it. The first piece is to really listen to your own intuition, your gut and your intuition and what it's telling you, and give yourself permission to follow it. Because I feel like in the beginning, I would get these nudges of like how, my gut was telling me, it should, do it this way, or like, this doesn't feel right. Right. But then my brain would override it and say, oh, well, no, like this, other people have told me that this is great. Like, I know that this sounds right. So, like, just, stop feeling bad about it, because this is what it needs to be. And when I really started like leaning into that of like, okay, this doesn't feel right. Why doesn't it feel right? What do I need to shift? What can I do? And I think I probably will always be shifting with things like that in business. And I think that's how businesses have longevity, is being able to embrace that shift and sort of allow things to change. Like, things will change, and that's okay.
Yes, I completely agree. God, I remember getting some advice really early on, like the first year in business, and you should do it this way and you should market this way. And I just remember being like, oh, that sounds horrible. Like, I don't want to do it that way, sort of thing. And there is not a shortage of business advice out there, and people who think they know what you should and shouldn't do. And it really, the sooner you can sort of lean into, like you said, trusting your gut or trusting your intuition, I think the better, and really evaluating each one of those pieces of advice from your own sort of metrics of factors that matter to you, right? Like, what really matters most to me. And for you, Amber, it's like, how do I feel about that, right? And I think that's awesome. And is this really what's going to be helpful for somebody? Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
I am just so grateful for you to have me on. This is like, I feel kind of like it's a full circle moment a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Like, it's just so cool. And like, the interesting thing, like, we've touched on the whole, like how people market and, like that whole like business advice, like so many of those people out there market themselves as the right way. And their marketing is designed to make you believe that their way is the right way. And they're the only person that can teach you how to do it. And often it might be a method that doesn't work for you. But I think that's just how most people market. And I even like over the years, I know that I did like a review of FCA that you have on your website. And I have actually had some people that have reached out to me directly to be
Cool.
Hey, can I like talk to you a little bit about like your experience with FCA? And every time I get to be on and be like, just get on a call with Kelsa. Like she's not going to push you into something that's not right for you. But I think we're so conditioned to expect that from people.
It's true.
And that's one thing that, I fully embraced. Like if you come to me and you ask me if I can help you and I can't, I will flat out say, no, I can't, but maybe I can help you find someone who can.
It's such an easier way to do business, isn't it? It's just such an easier way. It's just, to me, it seems like common sense. But I know I didn't know it wasn't common sense when I first started either. So I know that it's not, but it feels so ingrained in the way that I run my business now and sort of what I encourage other coaches to do. And so I'm so glad. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for encouraging that. Thank you for being a promoter of what we do and for just being so awesome and for helping people every day. I really appreciate your time today, Amber. You guys can find out more about Amber at amberpie.com, AMBERPIE.com. Thank you, Amber, for taking the time to be with me today and for the positive impact that you are having on people's lives every single day. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
That's all for today. If you're ready to grow your own financial coaching business, head over to financialcoachacademy.com for helpful resources and tools. If this episode helped you, hit subscribe and leave us a review. I'll see you next week.